Hello, loves. Hello, hello. Hills here from the Blue Flame. How are we all doing in our emergence from the Lion's Gate? So, I'm recording this on the 11th of August from the beautiful Mount Shasta Valley. And Mercury is just slowed down, getting ready to turn direct again in a couple of hours at sunrise here on the Pacific coast. Well, not really the coast, am I? And this morning I woke up in the blue hour and went outside and sat with Jupiter and Venus, who are currently conjunct, and Sirius, which is still kind of hidden behind the mountain, which is behind me. The light is making it hard to see. Maybe I'll step away and see if we can get a nice view of it for you all to take in Her Majesty. So, yes, we have the Venus Jupiter conjunction, and the 11th, 12th this week is when they are at their tightest. Now, interestingly, this happens to also coincide with the Perseids meteor shower. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, or it is what it is, this year, because the full moon came in so close to the date of the peak of the Perseids, we can't really see them because this beautiful, bright full moon is lighting up the sky a little bit more than makes it possible for us to see them. However, if you are called to wake up in the pre-dawn hours, really for the rest of August, you're going to get this gorgeous view of Sirius beginning to rise and Jupiter and Venus moving together in the skies. It's really magnificent. Right now, they are right next to each other, and it kind of looks like two eyes peering out of the sky at you. So, Mercury is turning around. Venus and Jupiter are conjunct. And we are coming into a time that I am calling the Feast of Ascension, the feast honoring the emergence of the Priestess Moons. So we have a beautiful confluence of events occurring right now. This month of August is really, really powerful for exploring and expanding our access to those feminine, creative, magnetic aspects of all of us, regardless of the physical body you happen to be incarnate in, or your gender identification, or choose not to stateness. However you are, when we are talking about the feminine energies or the masculine energies, what we are talking about is those parts of our being, each and every one of us, that happens to resonate a little bit more to one or the other state of these beings. The feminine is often, in Gnostic terms, understood as the Sophia. The masculine is understood as the Christos. In Hindu mythology, this would be Shiva and Shakti, right? But we're going to stick with the Gnostics because this is such a fun aspect of these priestess moons that we have coming in. So on the 15th of August, we, or I should say the Roman or Catholic Church, celebrates two feminine energies. It is the feast day of Sophia, which is that Gnostic feminine wisdom. Sophia means wisdom, as well as being the Assumption Day or Ascension Day, the day that Mary the Mother was said to have wholly risen into the heavens, to have ascended her physical form. The 15th of August honors both the Sophia and the Mother. And here we can feel, I'm going to invite us a little bit of a deep dive into Gnosticism, which is the understanding of the origin of this all universe, this earthly plane. The story goes, or one version of it anyways, that Sophia and Christos were 2 points of light, 2 stars, if you will, 2 stars, if you will, playing and dancing together in the heavens, enjoying creation. When Sophia noticed another point of light and went on for an investigation, Christos stayed behind, said, I don't think we're supposed to go over there. This is where we're supposed to be. And can't you feel the story of Adam and Eve in here too? But Sophia said, no, this must also be part of God's creation. I want to experience all of it. I want to experience more of it. I want to understand it. And so Sophia went and explored, but she got lost. She went a little further than she had intended and could not find her way back to Christos. In her lamentation, in her grief, she created for herself a companion, a son. She birthed a son. And here you can start to feel why the feminine is so connected with manifestation and creation energies. It's not just because females in the earthly plane are the ones that carry and gestate and birth babies, right? Just look at the seahorse. So what we are experiencing through this, as Sophia creates this sun for herself, and here we can see our sun as well behind me, as a symbolic representation of this. The sun then created the earth and the planets. And some people will call this sun the demagogue. Right? Sophia, unintentionally, so the story goes, put all of her grief and pain and longing and fear into this sun unintentionally, right? It was in her, and therefore it moved into the sun. However, when the earth began to form, having not lost her connection to the all of creation and the majesty and the magnificence and the wisdom and that curiosity, she placed within this new garden that her son had created an apple that contained all the wisdom of the universe, consciousness. And this was her gift to, you could say, her grandchildren. And this is the apple, the proverbial apple, which Adam and Eve consumed and made them aware of themselves. It gave them access to their consciousness. She had since found her way back to Christos. She had ascended. Now it's interesting, right? Because so much of this story talks about the losing of connection to source and the pain that is inherent in that. And what are we all doing in this world, in this life of seeking, when we are opening to our greater awareness our awareness that we are not simply this one thing, but we are a vast, interconnected, interwoven experience. We are a soul having a human experience, and we are part of the all of creation. We seek for that divine within us and outside of us. Now, interestingly, isn't it, that Sophia and Mary the mother, who was said to have given birth to the Christos, to Jesus, who was able to fully embody that Christos energy, have their Ascension Day and their feast day on the same day. Now, this day, the 15th of August, back when Mary was walking the earth, also happened to be the same date when the star Regulus, the heart of the lion, was conjunct the sun. Now, that day happens to be the 25th of August now, but more on that later. So, this year, the 15th of August, is also the Taurus third quarter moon. It is the lunation of the half moon, and it's the moon at 23 of Taurus, the sun at 23 of Leo. So they're making an angle towards one another, right? The half moons are a magnificent time for working with that midpoint. What did we invoke in the new moon? What did we invoke in the full moon? What pattern were we exploring during this Aquarian full moon and Lionsgate portal? How are we now coming into seeing that in a different way? Because as soon as we start to create, we start to also notice all of the things that maybe weren't exactly aligned with what we were asking for. This is why the genie asks you to be very, very specific in your verbiage when you make a wish. Otherwise, you're not going to get exactly what you want, right? So, this day, the 25th, or sorry, the 15th of August, is the third quarter moon. We will be coming into the Virgo new moon on the 22nd of August. As we come through this 15th day, though, that midpoint, where we have the moon's midpoint as well. Can we feel any of those things that have been limiting our capacity to create in the world? Can we feel for anywhere where we are operating, where we are asking our ascendants, our descendants to carry a weight that is not theirs, like Sophia with the Demogorg? Can we feel where we're asking parts of ourselves to carry things that we don't need to carry anymore? And purify that energy, alchemize that energy. Now, how do we do that? I'm going to share a practice that is one that I do, and it's been very loud for me lately, which is when I'm working with an energy. I do a lot of this way or that way. Is this the truth? Is this the truth? Is this the truth in my day to day? And usually I get a yes, and it's yes, or a no, and it's like I just got sunk, and I like I'm in quicksand, like don't go any further. No. However, every once in a while, I will get that yes, and I'll hear a no. I'll hear a no. Now, a lot of us will be inclined to, I got that yes, I'm not even going to pay attention to that no. But what if instead you can take a moment in this beautiful energy that we have for intuitive bodily wisdom to sit with that no for a moment, to ask that no, who said that? Can I witness you? Is there a reason that you're afraid or that you do not want to do this thing? And let that part of you, because it is a part of you, share why it is knowing. And usually, through that experience of sitting with that no, you'll find out why, you'll get to heal or alchemize something, and you move into that yes, more full-bodied, more full-throated, more full-hearted, more full. Now, I have been calling this eclipse wormhole that on the 22nd of August we enter into the Priestess Moons. This is because on August 22nd, we have the first of two Virgo new moons. The first one on the 22nd of August will be at 0 degrees, the moon and the sun at 0 degrees of Virgo. The next one, which is going to be on the 21st of September, will be at 29 degrees of Virgo. So they are bookending the sign of the priestess. Remember that Virgo is the sign of the virgin priestess. So when we feel into that virgin priestess energy as we're coming into this 15th of August celebration time, let us remember that what is meant by virgin is whole unto self. What is meant by immaculate conception is not imbuing your pain into that which you create. Feel how Sophia inadvertently imbued her son with all of her pain and longing and fear. And feel how when we talk about the Immaculate Conception of Jesus, what we're actually talking about is that Mary and Joseph did not imbue, they had done enough of their personal shadow work, enough alchemizing of their own traumas, and were able to conceive of a child without imbuing their wounds into that creation. Can you imagine if everyone was conceived in that way? We received the gifts of our bloodline, but not the pain and the trauma and the complex PTSD. Now, that doesn't mean that a soul comes in, oh, I have nothing to do. Look at me. I'm just going to. What it means is that I don't have to do the work of my mother and father, my grandmother, my grandfather. I simply have to do the work, the dharma of my soul. Come and pick up my coursework. It changes the cycle. It changes the way in which souls incarnate. And when people are talking, because this is something that is very loud right now, that karma is going away, and this is part of the energy of this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and all through this week, that sextile with Uranus is exact still. So as we are moving through the shadow indirect of Mercury through Leo, with this sextile still active, as we come into the cycle of the priestess moons and the eclipse on the 7th of September, as we move through this Assumption Day, this Ascension Day, and this feast day, what are we feeding ourselves? What are we feeding our families? What are we feeding the earth? Could be our questions. And when we feel into transforming karma into dharma, Can we feel wholly in every cell of our being what it might mean if we stop asking other people to carry our load? We stop the cycle of generational trauma. It ends here, right? If we send that healing energy back down the line and forward, when we remember that time is simply a linear concept that we enjoy while we're embodied on this plane, and we don't have to be victims of it anymore. Let me feel. We went to some pretty important and deep places today. I will have another update where we really go into the energies of these priestess moons. I will share that on the new moon. Okay, yes, I'm sorry. I have to share first that also on the 15th and running through the cycle, we have the asteroids Isis, Hygeia, and Hathor all exactly conjunct at 26 degrees of Gemini across from the galactic center. So bringing that goddess, that priestess energy of creation. And I noticed that Shasta's starting to peek out with the sunrise behind me too. Bringing all of that creational energy, that healing energy, that rebirthing energy. And remember that Isis and Mary are the same story. And the Hathors bringing us into that remembering of our interdimensionality, all in the sign of communication and expression across from the galactic center, reminding us that we are both and. And yes, on the 22nd, on the new moon, with those three still quite conjunct with one another, we also have the sun and moon being yachted. The finger of God is pointing at the sun and moon at 0 degrees of Virgo, as Pluto, still retrograde at 1 degrees of Aquarius, is sextile to the aforementioned Neptune and Saturn, both retrograding in those 1 and 0s now of Aries, pointing in conjunctly at the sun and the moon. Like I said, we will have more about that in the next update, so stay tuned. Please let me know in the comments if there was anything that popped for you, if you had an aha, or if you have a question. And as always, please do like and subscribe if that is how you are so inclined. Now, let's just sit for a moment, and I'm going to share my love and gratitude off screen, because as soon as I move out of the picture, the camera will reorientate and you'll get to see Shasta even better. Give it a moment. And as always, in the always, so much and many loves to you from the dimensions of the all and beyond, beyond.